I moved into my apartment about 6 months ago. It's one of those older buildings. Nothing fancy, but it's quiet, and most of the people who live there have been there for years. You get to recognize faces pretty quickly. Not by name, just by routine. Who leaves early, who gets back late, who smokes outside, that kind of thing. There was one guy I started seeing pretty often. Mid-30s maybe, always wearing a cap. Never really made eye contact, but he'd give a small nod if you passed him. He seemed normal, the kind of person you don't really think about. I'd see him in the hallway sometimes, or outside near the entrance. A couple of times I saw him standing near the mailboxes. I just assumed he lived there. One night, I got back a little later than usual, around 11:45. The hallway was quiet, like always. As I walked toward my apartment, I saw him again. He was standing near my door. Not right in front of it, just off to the side, like he was waiting for something. I slowed down a bit, but kept walking. When he saw me, he gave that same small nod. Then he said, "Hey." I said hey back, didn't think anything of it. He gestured toward my door and said, "You in 3B, right?" That caught me off guard for a second. I said, "Yeah." He nodded again, like that confirmed something. Then he said, "Yeah, I used to be in there." It sounded casual, like small talk. I just said, "Oh yeah?" He smiled a little. "Yeah, moved out a while back. Still got some stuff, I think." That felt a little strange, but not enough to question it. People forget things. It happens. I unlocked my door. He didn't move, just stood there. Then he said, "Mind if I check real quick?" I hesitated, only for a second, but he noticed. He smiled again, like he understood. "Just want to make sure I didn't leave anything important." I don't know why, but I let him in. Maybe because he seemed so sure, like it was normal, like I was the one overthinking it. He walked in like he knew the place. Didn't look around much, just went straight down the hallway toward the bedroom. That's when it started to feel off. Not scary, just wrong, like I had missed something. I stood near the door, listening. I could hear him moving around, opening something, closing it, drawers maybe. It went on longer than I expected, like longer than someone just grabbing something. After a minute or two, I walked down the hallway, slowly. I stopped just before the bedroom, and I could hear him talking, quietly, like he was on the phone, but I hadn't seen him with one. I stepped into the doorway. He was standing by the closet, not on the phone, just facing the wall, still. I said, "You find it?" He turned around, a little too quickly, like I wasn't supposed to be there. "Yeah," he said, "all good." Then he walked past me. Didn't say anything else, just headed straight for the front door. I followed him out. He stepped into the hallway, gave me another nod, and walked off. I locked the door behind him. This time, I checked it twice. Something about the whole thing didn't sit right, but I couldn't explain why. The next morning, I saw one of my neighbors downstairs. Older lady, been there forever. We started talking for a bit. I mentioned the guy, said something like, "The guy who used to live in 3B. She looked at me for a second, then said, "No one's lived in that unit before you in years." I told her what he said, that he used to live there, that he came in to grab something. She just shook her head, slowly. Then she said, "People don't move out of that apartment. They just leave." I didn't like how she said it, so I asked her what she meant. She didn't answer, just changed the subject. I went back upstairs, unlocked my door, and for the first time since I moved in, I actually looked around. Properly. Closet, drawers, corners, everything. I didn't notice anything missing, nothing out of place, until I got to the bedroom. The closet door was slightly open, just enough to see inside, and something about it made me stop. because I always keep it closed. I walked over, slowly, and pulled it open. Inside, everything looked normal, except for one thing. On the floor, right in the corner, there was a hat, a dark cap, same one he had been wearing. I don't usually take Ubers late, but that night I had been out with a couple coworkers, and I ended up staying later than I planned. By the time I left, it was just after midnight, and everyone else had already gone. I didn't want to walk. It's not a great area at night. So I ordered an Uber while I was still inside. It said 8 minutes away. I stood near the entrance watching the app. The little car icon hadn't been assigned yet. It just said, searching for a driver. After a minute or two, I stepped outside. The street was quiet. A few parked cars, no real foot traffic. Then a car pulled up in front of me. Dark sedan. Nothing unusual. The driver leaned over and rolled the window down. "Hey, you waiting on a ride?" I said yeah. He nodded toward the street. "I'm Uber. App's been glitching tonight. You might not see me pop up yet." That didn't sound impossible. I looked at my phone. Still searching. No driver assigned yet. He said, "What's your name?" I told him. He repeated it back immediately, like he was confirming it. Then he said, "Yeah, that's you. Hop in." It felt normal enough. Not rushed, not pushy, just confident. So I got in. He pulled off right away. I opened the app again, still searching. That's when it started to feel off. Because usually, by the time you're in the car, everything updates. Driver name, plate, route, none of that was there. Just the spinning icon. I leaned forward slightly and looked at the dashboard. No Uber display. No phone mounted. Nothing. Just his regular console. I said, "The app still says it's looking." He didn't look back, just said, "Yeah, it's been doing that all night." Calm, like he'd said it before. I didn't respond. I just sat there, watching the road. Then I noticed we weren't going the way we should have been. Not dramatically off, just not right. I said, "It's supposed to be the other way." He didn't answer. I said it again. This time he glanced at me in the mirror. Brief. Then looked forward again. "Relax," he said. That's when I reached for the handle. I didn't say anything else. I just opened the door. The car was still moving, but slow enough. I stepped out, caught myself before I fell, and moved straight onto the sidewalk. I turned around. The car had stopped, just sitting there, engine running. For a second, I thought he might get out, but he didn't. He just stayed there, watching. Then after a few seconds, he drove off. I stood there for a bit, trying to steady myself. Then my phone buzzed. Driver found. A new car, different one, 2 minutes away. I stayed inside a nearby store until it got there. When the real driver arrived, everything matched. Name, plate, route, normal. The ride home was quiet. Nothing happened. But when I got back, I checked something. I opened the app and looked at the timeline. The actual driver had only been assigned after I got out of that first car, which means when I got in, there wasn't any driver coming for me at all. I don't live at home anymore, but I still stop by my mom's place pretty often. She lives alone, and it's one of those quiet neighborhoods where everyone kind of knows each other. Nothing really happens there. That's why this stood out. It was a Saturday afternoon, middle of the day. I hadn't told her I was coming over. I just decided to stop by on my way back from running errands. When I got there, her front door was unlocked. That wasn't unusual. She does that sometimes during the day if she's home. I walked in and called out to her. She answered from the kitchen. Everything felt normal. TV on in the living room, something cooking, nothing out of place. We talked for a bit, just regular stuff. Then she said something that didn't really register at first. She said, "Your friend stopped by earlier." I asked her what she meant. She said, "The one who said he knew you." I just looked at her. I said, "What friend?" She shrugged. "I don't remember his name. He said you sent him to pick something up." That didn't make sense. I hadn't sent anyone. I told her that. She looked confused for a second, then said, "Well, he knew your name." I felt that shift immediately. I said, "What did he look like?" She described him. Mid-30s, cap, calm, polite. Said he was in a hurry. Said you asked him to grab something from your old room. I didn't even have a room there anymore. Most of my stuff had been moved out months ago. I asked her if she let him in. She said yeah, like it was nothing. "He seemed nice," she said. "Didn't stay long." I asked what he took. She paused, then said, "I don't think anything." That didn't make me feel better. I asked her where he went. She said he walked straight to the hallway, then into your old room. Was in there for maybe a minute, then came out and left. No rush, no panic, just normal. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then I walked down the hallway, opened the door to my old room. Everything looked the same. Boxes in the corner, closet closed, nothing moved. At least not obviously. I checked a few things. Drawers, desk, closet, nothing missing. I stood there for a bit, trying to figure out what he could have possibly come for. Then I noticed something. The window. It was unlocked. That window hasn't opened properly in years. You have to force it. I went over and tried it. It slid open easily, like it had just been moved. I looked back toward the hallway, then back at the window. That's when I felt it. This wasn't about taking something. I walked back to the kitchen, asked my mom one more question. I said, "Did he say anything else?" She thought about it, then said, "Yeah, he asked if you were home." I said, "What did you tell him?" She said, "I told him no, that you don't live here anymore." I just stood there, trying to process that. Then I asked, "Did he seem surprised?" She shook her head. "No," she said, "not really." Then she added, "He just nodded, like he already knew."